So, TEDxAsokoro is here with one motive in mind: to set things rolling, just like with a locomotive. Do you hear these walls coming down?
Well, you heard in my introduction, I was born and raised in Maiduguri, the northeastern part of Nigeria. And Maiduguri, as most of you here might know, is actually a location that is complex. Nigeria in all has borders with only 4 countries. And of all these 4 countries that are bordering Nigeria, Maiduguri, Borno State alone has borders with 3 of these 4 countries: Chad, Niger, and Cameroon. And as you might have heard about, there has been this Boko Haram insurgency that has been going on for the past 10 years. And the motto of Borno State is home of peace. We in Borno State, basically, we've had a lot of history of not only living a peaceful life, but also equally helping those bordering countries to maintain peace in their locations. Borno and the Kanem Borno Empire, or the Kanem Borno Kingdom, has been in existence for more than 1,000 years. And the history of Islam in Nigeria, the Lake Chad Basin, and indeed Africa, would not be complete without putting into consideration the role that kingdom has played. Because Islam, as it is here, this very one that's been practiced, is about 1,400 years or so. And the history of Islam in Borno is also more than 1,000 years. So you can imagine for how long the people there have been practicing Islam as a religion. As you can see, the picture here you see, I'm from a very extended family. My father alone has 38 sons and daughters alive. Of these 38 sons and daughters, 27 of us are male and the 11 are female. And my father in all actually had about 44 sons and daughters. My mother alone, surprisingly, miraculously, she gave birth to 17 children with no twins. Only one died, my teenage sister. And my stepmother, the same thing. She had no twins, single birth each, 17. And I lost my brother at a teenage age. And 16 are alive. And in all, we live together. And the rest also of another stepmothers of mine. None of us actually would say, this is not my mother. All the women in the house are our mothers. All the senior siblings are our brothers and sisters. The junior ones are our younger ones. So I grew up in a house that have learned automatically from the composition of the house how to maintain peace, bring about peace, and most importantly, prevent violence and any form of conflict. So I grew up amid this kind of family with an automatic training, which ideally, primary education is 6 years, secondary education is another 6, university, even if you are to study dental surgery, as my sister does now, is 7 years more than the MBBS medicine. When you put all together, are less than 20. And as you see me, I'm older than 20. So ideally, I should be given a degree in that concept for being in this kind of family. So my father, as the vice chancellor, pro-chancellor, whatever name you give him, but chairman of the house, and my siblings and parents being the senior lecturers. And fortunate enough, you wouldn't get the type of scandal recorded by BBC in my house, never in my family. So you see, this is the kind of family I grew up in. And then all of a sudden, we woke up in 2010 or 2009. After maintaining this peaceful life, we woke up and there were gunshots and bomb blasting everywhere. Gunshots. And I didn't tell you, historically, where I come from. You know, in Islam, we having majority Muslims, we have the tradition of sacrificing animals. Maybe during festive days, or sometimes when you do something, you pray, sometimes you slaughter animals and give it, you know, as a form of what they call sadaqah. And it's part of the sacrifice. And then from time to time, we have a lot of ceremonies where we slaughter such animals, ranging from chickens, different animals. And do you know that as we were there, women, not because they are not strong, we respect women so much. Women, most of them, not that the society has told them, but as the tradition and the norm used to be. You know, women have this sense of sympathy, sense of accommodation. And we know women give life, and they cannot resist, especially our women. They cannot resist seeing life being taken in front of them. That is why, before now, you will never see a woman slaughtering any animal in my place, because they are very strong people and very committed to sympathy. These are our women. So you can imagine the male child and the male children that were born of this woman. You can imagine the sympathy they would have, that they cannot slaughter any of this animal, despite the fact that we are Muslims and we do such sacrifices from time to time. Only people who are spiritual leaders, clerics, and religious scholars have that will to come and slaughter animals, because we believe they're spiritually okay and they can handle it. But we woke up overnight that now sons and daughters from this kind of background slaughtering human beings. You can imagine something must have gone wrong somewhere. So this is the kind of society I came from, and this is what I found myself in. And for the fact that I have this background, I decided to engage myself in working for peace, that I want to work for peace after this conflict. Military intervention has been going for several years. So the terrorists, actually, most of whom actually either they were born there, they grew up there, or later eventually, you know, have lived there for a time. And this whole thing changed. Military intervention, killing people to bring about peace. This is the tradition globally. It's no crime to happen in Nigeria. And of course, what do you expect? If an enemy is coming, and what the enemy has is going to be used to kill you, of course, it's very human and natural for you to counter in the same manner. But that, by the way, has not been working for several years. We've been in a lot of troubles. And I felt that this degree, or PhD, if you count my age, that I was supposed to have, I need to work on my, is it Viva they call it, or thesis? Then as part of that, I said, look, this should not continue in this manner. I then began to engage some people that I know have direct connections, direct link with the Boko Haram terrorists. I did that, and I introduced these people to the military authorities, directly to the military authorities. And before then, I have also participated as part of a lot of national and international peacekeeping missions in the region I come from. I decided to introduce a woman called Mama Boko Haram. She's a very wonderful woman. She's a lawyer and works with the National Human Rights Commissions. And she is in touch with the BH people, and she's been part of the committee for dialogue during the past administration. I said, okay, she actually contacted me. And I said, you're welcome, and I can make the networking. And I introduced her to the military so they could utilize her knowledge, networking, and connection with this set of people for us to reach an agreement. Because historically, if you observe worldwide, so many of these conflicts that have taken place did not end at the battlefield. You are living witness what is happening in Turkey. Just yesterday, America was been able to secure, or rather broker, a meantime temporary peace. And that would not happen if the courts would counter the attack directly. It would have continued. So having that in mind, I brought this woman, we began to talk the peace process. But you know, as Nigeria would always be, we pushed, nothing worked. We went back home, relaxed for 8 months after nothing has worked. We thought it has become history. One day, I think was it a Saturday or Sunday? Anyway, I can't exactly remember, it's in August 2016. I was home, somebody called me that, hey, you were declared wanted by the Nigerian army. I said, this must be a wonderful story. Because before then, I didn't know what it meant to be declared wanted. I used to see in the movies and so many other things. And I questioned myself. Am I some movie star? Am I dreaming? What's happening? I went, it's everywhere on the internet. And as you can see, well, they call me ambassador. That's my name. They call me, I'm a UPF peace ambassador. So the army put on their website, Ambassador Ahmed Bolori, Ahmed Salkida, Aisha Wakil, declared wanted. This is it. After they did, you know what I did? I didn't panic, I didn't run away. The next slide, please. It's very slow. Then, what I did was I went to the military headquarters myself. I tried to get in touch with the Nigerian military authorities. They were surprised to see that I was pushing really hard to meet them. I called this, I texted this, I spoke to this. I said, gentleman, what are you up to? I said, well, you declared me wanted, here I am. And they said, no, go home and return the following day. Everything is all right. The following day, what time? We bargained. We actually had negotiation. Okay, what time? You can come anytime. 12 is okay, no, I'll come 8. 8 is too early. 9, 10, no. You know, finally we decided 10. And then I went there early in the morning, and whichever way, no much details, I signed in that I was going in. I went in, a lot of the media, everything, everyone was actually engaged. Many things happened in the next slide. So basically, why am I doing all this? Why? Let me very quickly, in 2-3 minutes, tell you what the crisis is all about and why I believe non-violent manner of ending conflict is the most important way. I told you before 2009 crisis, who are Boko Haram people? In early 2000s, sometime 2002-3, towards that time, there's what they call the Nigerian Taliban. The Nigerian Taliban actually is a set of a terrorist organization, also in the northeast, but this time not in Borno, in Yobe, the neighboring state. And actually, they targeted the sons and daughters, children of influential people in the society, including top government officials. They targeted their children and recruited them. So conflict is not about poverty. It's not if somebody doesn't have money. A lot of people joined Nigerian Taliban. They caused a lot of damages, and their leader then was Muhammad Ali. He was believed to have fought alongside other terrorists in Afghanistan, and he was trained there and was inspired, believed to have been inspired by a terrorist unit that is affiliated to another unit in somewhere Saudi Arabia. Then after then, the guy was eventually killed. Many things happened, and that did not last. But it has influenced another thing. Why did it influence another thing? Because violence was used. Eventually, sometime in 2005, Muhammad Yusuf, the head of Boko Haram, came back from exile where he ran to, because he was in a way part of that. He came, he resurfaced, and now he's the leader. He recruited a lot of people. Many people don't say it's about illiteracy. Many people in the southern part of this country, when I speak to them about Boko Haram, the translation directly from Hausa means Western education is forbidden. They say, well, this is the problem. You people are illiterate, you don't go to school. These people are a set of people, some of them are degree holders, in a lot of, lot of very, very challenging courses, that you making this noise cannot even apply through JAM that you want to study these courses. But eventually they tore their certificates. The lady here that spoke about mental health, I felt as if she was speaking to me because I knew how it is like. Everybody is looking for a better life now. You go to school, you do this, you want to have a family, a beautiful wife, of course, and many things. You have children and live a better life, have your certificate from a very good, reputable institution, have a better work. These are people who have all this. Even if they don't go to school, their parent who are there can provide for them, and eventually, if the parent are not lucky enough, they reach the expectancy rate of Nigeria, which is about early 50s. And if they are lucky enough to stay up to the expectancy rate of Japan, which is around 81 for male and 87 for female, they will still die eventually. And as the tradition has it here, the children would inherit the father. 1-to-2 ratio between men and women. So they have already enough. But they tore their certificates and went into this. And as they went, they were actually engineering, putting in place how to utilize this to bring about whatever troubles. But the time has not come until the military pressure became much on them. When the military pressure became much on them, they turned violent in 2009 to counter what the military did to them. But get this correctly, they have been planning already, but they are not violent yet. The military pushed them, and they actually showed their actual color. They've been planning, but the operation influx, a lot of stories. TED Talks traditionally are very short, so I can't go into details. So then, but I am not saying you should meet me to tell you the full story. So you see, basically, this was actually what happened. And do you know how these people have been able to generate and get their followers among the poor, among the rich? They have different campaigns. They are the best advocates. If you want to have an advocacy expert, somebody who will help you with a campaign agenda, if you meet them, is the end. Let's learn our lessons from this. Our lessons from what is happening right now in the northeastern part of this country, and basically in extension, the Lake Chad Basin. This problem is continuing, and there are lots of other factors that are influencing such problems. People from all over, Nigeria is now becoming a world power, whether we like it or not, either by population, by resources that we have, or by whatever manner. So what do we need to do? All of you here, we say we are the government. Let's try as much as we can, wherever we find ourselves, to take up to be peace ambassadors that would work for non-violence. I'm not saying I'm completely non-violent. If anybody tries to hit me outside, I will deal with you, unless you're more powerful and more huge than I am. So it's just the tradition, but to the best of your ability, I would say you should try as much as you can to influence this. The change we want would, of course, begin with us. And not that you maintain the non-violence just interpersonally, no. You need to, in extension, campaign for this kind of thing. Let's start something. You've had the stories in different countries, how few people start campaigns. So you've had stories all over. You don't have to come from a large family like mine. You can make your own family, a smaller one, as I'm planning to have probably 3 kids, maximum of 4 if people insist I should. But yet, I would make sure that this spirit goes on in my family. So thank you so much for listening. Goodbye.